How are you, sir?
I'm good, Alex. How are you, brother?
Hey, if I was any better, I'm telling you, I'd be breaking laws. I'd just staying out of trouble.
Same. I'm doing it, and that's it's challenging to do right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not that hard. You can't really go out and do a lot of things, So I'm just trying not to get in trouble with the wife and the baby. Other than
That's
that,
good.
I'm staying
Yeah,
afloat.
yeah. Happy wife, happy life, man. I learned that
Uh,
very early on.
yeah, man. Hey, look, I absolutely want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day, hopping on the call with me, and I just wanted to brainstorm about what's going on in life and work and how the real estate market is being affected, or if it's not even being affected. Just wanted to get your thoughts. But I personally know who you are. I'm not sure if everybody on my Facebook and in Bakersfield knows who you are. I know you're well known, but I would love an introduction.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I am the CEO for Bakersfield.
Yeah.
Been doing that right at a year. That's been real fun. Got into real estate in 2016. Started with another major company and made my way to Keller Williams as an agent, and then decided, I really liked the leadership path. Originally, leadership approached me and said, "Hey, we'd like you to become the CEO." To which I said, "Nope, not." I was in, my past life. I was a junior executive for a oil and gas construction company. We primarily service Chevron and Era, and did that. And I thought, man, not my cup of tea. And I'll tell you, the past year has been a ton of fun, helping guide agents build their businesses.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Right, right. And I think we came across we did a deal together and it was a little edgy, but we managed to came clean on it. So that was a good
Unfortunately, edgy on my part. I think I had the difficult client, but yeah, Alex, and that brings me to the next point. I'm just a guy in real estate, right? And I think what struck me about you and what I really wanted people to understand is, one, how much you genuinely care about your clients.
right.
And one of my favorite quotes is, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care."
Right.
And it's cheesy and it's corny, and yet it applies. And I would say that whether consciously or subconsciously, it's a mantra that you certainly seem to live by on serving your clients. So
Yeah.
kudos to you for building an honest, ethical business. You served your clients at a high level.
Yeah.
Been doing this about 3 years now, and I think, man, you are definitely one of the most respected agents in town for that reason.
Right.
So kudos to you. People are best served by agents who are putting. We have a fiduciary responsibility, right? And it's
Absolutely.
fun to say that, and it sounds cool on paper, and yet
Yeah.
you genuinely have to put their finances ahead of your own. And unfortunately, I don't see. Let me say this: I think that there's an opportunity in our industry for that. And I saw that with you. You cared about your clients' best interest and their finances above and beyond getting paid yourself. So kudos to you for building the
Yeah.
business that you have.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for the kind words. I tell all my clients, I'll give you advice, and I'll honestly tell you if I personally would purchase this property, whether to is it a live-in purpose or for an investment, right? I'll give you my honest opinion. At the end of the day, it's your call, but I'll give you my honest opinion. And if I feel safe at home over here, I would say, hey, this is a good location. It's a good home. I can see myself living here.
Mhm.
You
Well,
know?
and Alex, I think you bring up, highlight a point that, treating other people's money as if it's your own. We touched
Absolutely.
on that with the fiduciary responsibility. And then
Right.
I think also, just genuinely, I mentioned this a second ago, genuinely caring about other people. For me, it's, am I going to be able to pass this person in the street? Bakersfield's a very small town, see them in bit Target and hold my head high that I served them at a very high level, even if it meant saying, we have to walk away from this transaction for their own best interest, right?
Absolutely.
And I always tell them, don't fall in love with the property until I hand you the keys, because you tie
Mhm.
my hands
Right.
to be able to serve you best, right?
Yeah.
If you telling me, get me the property at all costs, so you operate that way. I love the way you operate your business, and you genuinely are a rock star in real estate. So give
Thank you.
Alex a call. You're looking to buy, sell, or invest. He's the man.
I did not pay him to say that. I promise. But thank you. I will take the phone calls. And one of the things there's with the whole COVID-19 and Friday, everything was great. Real estate was right here. Properties were selling like this, and it was just like hotcakes. 300,000, 500,000. I mean, 200,000. Forget it. Next hour, they're gone.
Yeah.
you know? And then on Monday, Tuesday, boom, the whole
Yeah.
thing just shuts down.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to recognize, and of course, this sounds like I'm tooting my own horn, and I'm genuinely not. No one could have predicted what happened.
Right.
72% of economists were saying that the recession was going to happen within the next 3 years, with over 50% saying 2020. To which even I was scratching my head, going, "What? What are you talking
Where?
about? Do you
Yeah,
see
where
it?
do you see it?
Do you see?" So to the most immediate point, I think that no one saw it coming. And what is the one thing that every recession or economic downturn has in common? No one expected it. Right. So in December, I did our team meeting and I stood up in front of our top producers first. And then I went and in our general team meeting and I said, guys, the number one predictor of the future is the past. And to the point I just made, every recession, no one expected it. So I'm just telling you, now's the time. Let's dust off a couple of materials we have on a shifting market,
Yeah.
and started doing a shift class. And people are going, a shift? Are you kidding? Things are hot. And then all of a sudden, on its nose, like nothing I don't think we've ever seen before, it changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you think, I mean, I'm still seeing a movement on the market, right? I just pulled up trends and it says 21 houses sold, 24 hours, 21 went pending,
Yep.
right?
And that's just the past 24 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, this is past 24 hours
And 28 new listings in the past 24 hours.
right. So I mean, it's still moving. Um, do you really think there's going to be a correction in Bakersfield? Because I think Bakersfield is such a great community, right? We're the most affordable housing in I want to say the entire state of California, right? I mean, you get a nice little house, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath for 250, maybe 225, right? And do you think it'll just bounce right back up? You think there might be a little bit of a time before it
It's such
bounces?
a great question, and it's a question I'm being asked by my agents and by people that I know, love, and trust. And it's hard. I think with the first part of your question, I think is where we spend the most time, and I think that's what you said is, do you see that happening in Bakersfield? So what people need to recognize is real estate is hyper local. You cannot take national news articles and plug them into any real estate market. Certainly during the last downturn, and the thing that people have to remember, during the last recession, real estate was the cause of that. We were at the cutting edge of that. We quite literally created that financial.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think to some degree, a lot of local markets, because of that, copied what was happening nationally. So certainly there was 32 states that saw a double-digit decline. So
Yeah.
for sure that's true. But I think your question is spot on in what's happening in Bakersfield, right? Because you take all these politics aside, if you're watching national news outlets, they've become talk shows, right? And so we have to remember viewership is what they are seeking, and so to plug and play. So I just wanted to say that as an overarching thing. So to answer your question, the easiest way I know how, I'm looking at 3 pages of notes that I took in preparation for this. And I think that the response and the most appropriate and less dangerous response is it depends. and I'll dive into that if you want me to.
Okay. I mean, so, with this whole COVID, and I'm looking at the other thing I see is that there's only 2 months of inventory,
Mm-hmm.
which is like none. I mean,
Yeah, we're 1.6 months. Yeah, of inventory per month.
yeah. So it's unbelievable. So I know they're talking about opening the state back up and little by little. Like, what major changes do you think they'll be implementing? Like, do you think this whole virtual showing will still be a big thing, or?
Well, I think where we luck out with showings is because this is a health crisis, obviously, that's creating an economic crisis. I think where we're going to luck out is it's a relatively small amount. We're not talking about 30 people in order to do our business, right? And some people, let's take construction, for instance, all of those considered a vital industry. There's an entire group of people that have to physically come together to get that work done. If you think about the 5 major processes in a real estate transaction, one of them right now is only being adversely affected, which is the physical showing of property. And again, that's with a small group. So I think if they open the state up in phases, certainly I'm sure it'll be county by county. I'm, just me talking my view of the world. I think LA and San Francisco County and surrounding counties will probably be the most restricted for the longest time just
Yeah.
because of density. So I think, yeah, I think as they start to peel those restrictions back, it will, it'll help us for sure on that front end of those showings.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, I don't see the only delays that I'm running across personally is that getting the appraisal out to the property or the escrow paperwork. And escrow officers, they're doing great. They're working from home, and there's just a little bit of a delay because everyone's working from home and everyone's trying to adjust to the new norm. But other than that, I don't really see there's any other holdups. I showed a home earlier on Zoom call. We just did a 3D walkthrough online,
Yeah.
and it was nice and simple, and we're submitting an offer now.
Yeah. Well, Alex, I think and you didn't pay me to say this as well, I think you highlight the overreaching a thought there again. There are agents who will find a way who are safe, right? If
Yeah.
my team, when I would say, hey, they said we can't do this, they would immediately say, oh, well, what they didn't say, I'm like, guys, let's not try and circumvent this. The whole point is they're putting things in place to keep us safe, right?
Yeah.
I like it, don't like it. The point is we all stay safe. So
Right.
but what you just said, you're an example of someone who's staying safe, serving your clients, serving them at a high level, and being able to get properties into escrow. So, relative to someone who's on the couch going, oh my gosh, that's it, the whole world, the Chicken Little, sky fell, and, oh my gosh, let's just wait. Life does go on. And again, if you're keeping safety as the number one priority, you can still conduct business. I mean, I'll just end with this real quick before the next question. Imagine if we didn't have the internet, just that one thing, we'd be dead in the water, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Internet, between DocuSign, email, Zoom calls, virtual notary, all that kind of stuff, we're pretty much, business as usual.
Yeah, pretty much. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. And once again, thanks for the compliment. But the first week this happened, I was in just loving my couch and Call of Duty. Absolutely, right? There's no denying that. But the second week, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I got to figure out an alternative, and that's when I started adapting all these online virtual stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first week.
And I think you bring up that's an appropriate, that first 3 weeks as a leader of one of the top 3 major real estate offices in Bakersfield, it was stressful. And we're trying to put information out that was changing. We'd get off the phone with the attorneys, get ready to send the email out. The attorneys would call us back. Wait, hang on, retract, don't send that. So we were trying to stay out in front of it of a moving target, and it was very stressful.
Yeah.
I think now, this week I'm definitely getting into, I wouldn't say norm, but I'm getting into kind of
a new system.
A new system. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Adjusting. Yeah.
So, I didn't write this question down, and what I wanted to ask you, you mentioned the book, I don't know, the Shift Classes earlier, right? And I'm sure you already read the book by Gary Keller. And if you were to, highlight 2 or 3 points on how or what should an agent expect, what should a consumer expect, a seller or a buyer in a shifting market?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I wasn't, you didn't tell me to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 primary things. One, it goes back to what we said, you customer service, you have to be the professional, right? And are you the agent right now? And there's no judgment in this, right? To me, we're one real estate community. I never look at a competing agent as a competing agent.
Right.
We're one industry working together to serve our clients. So I think, one, are you serving your client at a high level? But again, the point I'm trying to make is, or are you the agent that's, here's what, I had for lunch today, here's my quarantini and here's my right. And those are funny. I'm not saying that those are inappropriate and it's great to have a laugh right now. What I'm saying is, are you showing up as the professional out in front of the information and being able to provide it? I personally received a phone call from my attorney, from my banker, and from my accountant.
Yeah.
And that was, I loved them before, but that for sure solidified the relationship because they were showing up as professionals during this time of crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's important, right? And same thing, my accountant called me and a couple of, close people that I do business with reached out and say, hey, if there's anything you need, give us a call. We can do what is possible, right? Help out in any way we can, which is very thoughtful, especially in times like this.
It is thoughtful. I mean, and the I care messages, right? Is people, again, don't care how much you know. people don't care I'm the CEO of Keller Williams, right?
Yeah.
Go up to the average person, they don't care, right? That's irrelevant. My friends and family, I don't even know that they know my title. It's irrelevant. What they know, gosh, David, he's a really nice guy. He's a really caring guy, right? He genuinely cares. So I think those would be the two things. They're kind of intertwined, but customer service, professionalism, and showing people you care.
Yeah. And you know, one of the last questions that I wrote down on here is, what are you doing to maintain a positive mindset and stay sane, right? I mean, there's a lot of people don't like being closed up in the house 24/7. I know I personally don't like it, right?
Yeah.
Are you just meditating more often, going on longer walks, or what are you doing with families that maybe people will listen to this and, hey, I should try that out?
Yeah. Well, and I wanted, if I can, Alex, I wanted to go back because I don't know that I directly addressed. I thought there'd be a follow-up question, so I wanted to directly address just a couple things about the market overall, and you highlighted most of them. You look at appreciation, okay? So look at appreciation from 2003, 4, and 5 relative to 17, 18, and 19, okay? 2005 closed that year with 11.4% appreciation. We're talking about single-family properties, okay? 2019, there was a 4.7% increase. So it was healthy. It was not gangbusters, right? The second thing, mortgage credit availability index. So this is a monthly measure that the banks gauge the level of difficulty to get a loan, okay? And think about this. In 2004, it was 380. So it was a relatively low. 2005, it went to 760. And I would like to add.
That's on a scale. What is that on a scale of?
I believe 1,000. Don't quote me, but the higher the number, the more the easier it is to obtain credit.
So in 2005, it was 380.
2004, 380, roughly, give her 380, 390.
Okay.
2005, it more than doubled to 760, and that was a peak.
Okay.
And I'll add some humor. If you fog up a piece of glass, you could get a loan, right?
Right.
It was a mortgage loan. In 2006, it was at 800. It peaked, at 2006 at 868. 868. Wow. Today, it's 152. If you can get a loan today, you've gone through some hoops. You've checked credit. They've done a debt to, and of course, you have to consult a lender for information on this. But debt to income ratios, credit scores, longevity of employment, all of those different factors. It's. I don't want to say it's difficult to get a mortgage now, but they're not handing them out. Certainly in 2006, they were handing them out. So that was the second thing. Real quick, number 3, the number of homes for sale. So today, active for March of this past month was 704 active listings, right? In 2019, okay, March of 2019, there was 896. So the point you made, the pendings, okay, for March of 2019 were 592.
Okay.
Pendings for this past March. And the thing I'll highlight when we look at any kind of data, and this goes agents looking at data, this goes for a consumer, there are leading indicators and there's lagging indicators. Lagging indicators tell us what happened. Leading indicators are an indication of what's to come, right? So everything I've gone through so far are all lagging measures. It's what's happened up to now, right? The pending, however, that's the burn rate. That's the burn rate that we're going through. How many properties are we going through every month to get to the number you mentioned earlier, which was 1.6 months of inventory? At our current burn rate, okay, so we'd have to continue the pace that properties are entering escrow. We'd have to double the amount of houses on the market to be a balanced market, which is at 3 months. So when I gave you the answer earlier, it depends. Well, it depends on the burn rate. If the burn rate continues and the active listings continue to rise, they'd have to rise by double to be in a balanced market. Okay. It could happen. It could for sure happen, right? That burn rate comes down, inventory starts to go up. Could we see 4 or 5 months of inventory and shift from our current seller's market to a buyer's market? We could. Okay. And then just the last couple things here, and I wanted to just highlight the last two. From 2005 to 2007, there was $824 billion pulled out of homes for finance, cash out equity.
From 2004 to when?
2005 to 2007. So that 3-year period, there was $824 billion pulled out. Essentially, people were using their homes as ATMs. Okay. Now think of it this way. From 2017, projected through the first quarter, and they're 95% of the data is in for the first quarter, 232 billion for that same 3-year period.
Yeah, that's an important point. And I was reading an article saying that a lot of homeowners have a lot of equities in their house right now.
Yeah.
Like
so
a lot.
Next point. So 37% of people own their home, with 53.8% of people having at least 50% equity in their house.
Yeah, they're not going to let go of that. I mean, that's a lot of money they're sitting on.
There's a lot of money sitting there relative to what it was before. The margins were so tight before of what people owed and what the property was worth. Forgive the crude expression. As soon as the market burped, they were upside down, right? Yeah. Now, you're seeing this gap start to happen, right? The market can still do this. Before, maybe you made 60K, right? Okay, now you're making 52K. Still not bad, right? And so I think that's all important.
And a lot of guidelines were put in place from what happened in 2008, right? So I think that's preventing. And this is not mortgage or housing crisis. This is a virus. This is a health crisis, right? Yeah. So yes, I personally, my opinion, there might be a little bit of panic selling. People might start to cash out on their equity. But in 6 months, we'll be back up where we all were, because Bakersfield is such a great city to invest in, to buy in, to live in. And it's so affordable.
And you bring up I think it's going to really depend on, days on market. March of 2020, we're still 33. To normalize that, March of 2019, we're 39. So our days on market, granted that's looking backwards, had actually dropped from March of 19 to March of 20. Okay. Yeah. At the height of the financial crisis, November of 2006, during that period of time, granted this was a November, the days on market spiked to 60. That's the highest it went. 60 days on market on average, right? Yeah. And then, so showings, if you look at showings, there was 108 showings from the week of March 18th to April 17th, okay? Just this past 30-day period. This is right now. There was 108 showings, okay? Now, granted, that's in showing time, people who don't use showing time, or if they're contacting the agent directly, it's the metric that we have, so unfortunately that's what we have. Relative to what happened March 18th to April 17th of 2019 was 579. It reflects an 82% decrease. Now, here's what I would say, okay? I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Yeah, I think you got rid of your looky-loos. Okay,
100%
out there.
1,000%.
Yeah,
and I'm glad, honestly. It's just sure. I love my clients, right? But I honestly don't want to work with somebody who wants to go look at 10 different houses for 6 months, right? I really want to drill down. What is it that you're looking for? Right. How serious you're looking to buy? What is your credit score like? And you have reserves set, right?
Well, and unfortunately, a lot of our industry don't work by referral, right? Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which way you look at it. And so they get a sign call, and sure, I'll go meet you, right? Our team has a go and show policy. We will not go and show property. We won't do it. We'd like you to come in. We'd like you to meet with us. And going back to the fiduciary responsibility, we'd like to go through some metrics with you to make sure, one, there's an affordability there, and two, we understand how to serve that client, right? You telling me you want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Northwest does nothing for me to try and help you, right? We need to drill a little bit deeper than that. And so I think we've removed a lot of that, because we are seeing our showing count decline, and I'm talking about within Keller Williams, our showing count overall declined through showing time. However, our pendings have only dropped by about 8%. So that's telling me an 82% drop in showings and an 8% drop in escrows. You're getting a lot of looky-loos who aren't serious relative to people who need or want to buy that are still looking.
Right. Yeah, no, I absolutely 100%. I agree. So yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to go through those few things.
No, very important. I mean, the numbers, I'm very analytical. I try to stay away from it because a lot of people aren't, but hey, those numbers are music to my ears. I am all the numbers.
And it'll depend, unemployment in the next 2-3 weeks. Maybe we come back in a month from now, we'll do, podcast 2 of this, or, version 2 of this. And we can look to see retroactively what's been happening. But right now, if you looked at the numbers that you had and you pulled out the showing data, to the lay person looking at it would go, what are you talking about? There is no crisis. When you add showing data in there, that's when they go, whoa. So again, the showing data could potentially be a lead indicator as to what's happening. So it's just really going to depend on what the next 4 to 6 weeks looks like. we'll know
And
more.
you know, this is kind of like related to the topic, and it's a big thing in our economy. You know, you earlier said you were part of oil and gas industry, right? What is going on with our oil prices? Can you
Well,
talk a little about that? Do you have any
sure.
thoughts on that?
Yeah. I have a couple of executives here in town I've bought and sold homes to, and I've definitely plugged in with them. And, they're all kind of scratching their head as well. I think that the issue with oil is it's a national, a global issue, right? And so when you have countries, Mexico and Russia and the Middle East, they start getting into bid wars, right, of who's going to lower their volume. And it's all about market share. Okay. So if two of the three major producers agree to reduce their production and one doesn't, they just took market share by default, right? So if they're all not playing nice in the sandbox and agree to a complete reduction, supply and demand takes over.
Got you. So the bottom line is they all need to be friends.
They all need to get along. Can we all just get along? So it'll. I think, that is tied in with a lot of the COVID-19 issues, right? You're seeing Iran get hit very hard.
Yeah.
A lot of other places in the Middle East get hit really hard with this virus. So I think until some of that flushes out, the irony is, politics aside on your view for fossil fuels, the supply and the demand of the country is there. It's the primary fuel source we have. And as especially here locally, the permitting issue has, I don't know if you followed that. The state has
No.
really put a vice on oil companies being able to pull permits and do normal work
Right.
and lengthen the process. So it'll be really interesting to see. Oil and ag is what we have here locally, and love it or hate it, it does support a large part of our economy.
Nice. Yeah, no, absolutely. It does support very large. And that's the only thing I'm a little worried about, but I hope everyone just becomes friends and works together on that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be
So
interesting, and I mean, again, we're in an election year. All politics aside, I think it's important that we can have these conversations at a high level, agnostic to which way you view things.
yeah,
If you have an administration pro oil versus kind of anti oil, it will depend on how this gets affected. You even look in California, more or less anti oil, right? They're a little more restrictive, and yet nationally, at our federal level, they're far more pro-oil. So seeing those two things clash, certainly in November, depending on what happens, it'd be very interesting to see what happens here locally with that.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the insight on that. That was one of the questions I didn't think of asking you earlier. It just came up, so thank
Yeah, I mean,
you.
it's huge. I mean, you're talking about thousands. You talk about chevrons and eras, and what people don't realize is Chevron and Era, they're as an employee count, don't have a lion's share of the jobs. They are the producers, right? And so you have a lot of engineers and you have a lot of folks like that. The technical side are all those ancillary businesses, right? Your KSIs, your PCLs, your all the people servicing the pumping units. I mean, you see the trucks everywhere. There is secondary, third layer, fourth layer of ancillary businesses supporting each other all the way up to the chevrons. So people look at I almost said agent count, the employee count for Era and Chevron, and they it's relatively low, and that is not representative of the oil industry as a whole.
God, there's a lot of branches.
A lot of branches, yeah, and support. I mean, even go down to mechanics and tires and oil, right? These guys driving back and forth, and all of those ancillary services that get affected. It's definitely a snowball effect.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for all that. Yeah,
You're welcome.
back to my original question
Yes.
about you not going crazy, right?
Yeah. Well, this is my crazy notes there. That's how I'm like the Rain Man in here on notes. How I go. I think, Alex, I think that's honestly one of the better questions, because I think we have never experienced anything like this ever before. By
Right.
no means am I comparing this to World War II. What our grandparents and great grandparents went through was unprecedented, and by far the greatest generation. And we haven't seen anything to this scale as far as restrictions on civil liberties. And I'm not making an argument for, I'm just making a statement.
Right.
Uh, before since World War II. So I think that is highlighted now, the psychological effects that are on people. I think I'm a high DI personality, if you're familiar with DISC, which means I'm a driver, I'm a go-getter, and also the I represents people, right? I get my energy from people and helping people, like most people in real estate. So I think a few things. One, diet and exercise. It's been really funny to see people, if you want to audit yourself, stand on the scale and pull out your grocery bill. Okay. Those
Yeah.
are the two leading indicators, leading and lagging indicators to that. So I think, alcohol intake, are you drinking enough water? Are you still taking vitamins? If you're indoors too much, you're not getting enough vitamin D from the sun. So there's all of that. But personally, yeah, going on a lot of walks. I start my day with a walk. I do lunch recess with my son. He's a kindergartner, and like everybody got pulled out of school, so I'm having
Yeah.
lunch recess with him.
Okay.
We go on an afternoon walk. I go on an evening run. So definitely, getting my physical exercise. I'm lucky that my best friend is also my wife. So her and I are still giving each other space and boundaries. We have mommy time and daddy time, and quiet time with the kids.
Yeah.
So I think it's about, I said this to somebody, I'm a spiritual guy, and so I always rely on Jesus as my, being my Lord and Savior, as direction. And I think about, if he were to design this, and by no means am I, someone will get a hold of this and go, David Bernal said that Jesus designed the COVID-19, right? So what I'm saying is, if there was a higher power wanting to us become hushed and spend more family time, what an amazing time to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's one of the things I've taken away. And, before all this, I don't know about you, but me, I was honestly running around like a chicken with no head, and chaos, right? Chaos everywhere. I mean, we were eating one day a week together, right? And just try to keep it like somewhat normal. But now we're eating lunch together, we're eating dinner together, and a lot more quality time with the family, right?
Amen.
And
that's the
brought
silver
all of us together a whole lot closer together, and it's a blessing. Like, if you really take a step back and think about it, wow, I'm so grateful for this great family, my daughter, my wife, and everything she does, and the whole 9 yards.
Man, perspective is powerful. And I had an unfortunate thing happen to our family, my brother and his first child, and I won't go into details, but it puts life into perspective. And I think that I often think about, what am I complaining about today? Am I complaining because I'm stuck inside my house with internet and my family and life, Wi-Fi and computers and cell phones and TV and all this books and all this stuff? What about the person holding their child's hand right now that's struggling from COVID-19, right? Or that they just buried their family, or better yet, the local hockey player who had that surgery and his wife couldn't be with him when he died because of the COVID-19. Like, that's an actual problem. That's an actual issue, right?
Yeah.
What we're dealing with right now. So I think it's important that, yes, we identify the change and the frustration and perhaps anxiety it can create. And also, there's a silver lining to this for sure. So affirmations daily. I'm not a touchy-feely kind of guy. And every time someone said affirmations, I'm like, yeah, get to the meat and potato of the training. But affirmations are important. Positive affirmations, journaling, reading. Great opportunity right now for personal improvement. Been reading a lot of self-improvement and development books. I typically read about a book a week. I know a lot. It only equates to about 35 to 55 pages a day. So pretty easy. Most of the time, as my wife when I take over my wife at bedtime, that's reading time, until she comes out, and then her and I can have a chance. So I think, I think just looking at all of that, staying positive, affirmations, and as you said, looking at an opportunity to get reconnected with your family.
Yeah, simple. Awesome, man. Well, look, hey, thank you so much for your time. I'm very thankful for everything I have in life, and I'm very thankful that you hop on the call with me. So
Anytime, man. I love our industry. I love our town.
Yeah.
And as I said, my shameless plug will be, if you know of anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest, he's your guy. So
Okay, sounds fair. We'll make sure we share this video on your Facebook.
Hey, I'm happy to, man. Yeah, I'm happy to.
All right. Hey, thanks, David.
All right, brother.